This is Wes with No Limits Hammer Harder. Today's installment is going to be the kettlebell swing. Super powerful. If you were ever going to do just one movement as an endurance athlete, kettlebell swing is it. It's a hip hinge, it's a power movement. It translates into every athletic movement you can imagine. The big thing I want you to think about here though is it's a hip hinge, not a squat, which means our hips are going to move from front to back where a squat moves from up to down. So, quick demo here on just the basics of the kettlebell swing. First off, my feet are about shoulder width apart. Next, I'm going to screw my feet into the ground, giving my hips a solid base. The entire time I'm thinking straight line from my head down to my tailbone, so I want a flat back. I'm going to pick up the kettlebell or simply bend down, and now I'm going to hike the kettlebell back to get the momentum. And then I'm going to, with hip extension, explode up. The kettlebell will move on its own. I'm not using my upper body. It will have a little weightlessness. And as the kettlebell is coming down, I call it, it's playing chicken with your crotch. It's coming down, and all we're gonna do is move our hips back. What we're not gonna do is come into a squat. So let me demo the kettlebell swing a few times, then I'll show you the fault on what it looks like in the squat position. So again, I'm set up, feet are screwed in, hips are back, hike the kettlebell, and it's just a hip hinge, swinging it through, it's weightless, comes back down, and I move the hips out of the way. We'll do a profile view next. So again, we're starting with feet are shoulder width apart. I have the kettlebell about 8 to 12 inches in front of me because I'm going to hike the kettlebell back to initiate momentum. Straight line from my head all the way to my tailbone. Hips are back. I'm not in a squat position. I'm in more of a deadlift position, hip hinge. I hike, and then it's simply hips back, kettlebell's coming in, playing chicken. I move my hips out of the way. This is all hips, not upper body. A nice cue that you can use to prevent yourself from going into a squat, which let me show you what that is. What I see oftentimes is, that's a squat. My hips are moving up and down as opposed to back and forth. What you can do is you can take any object. I'm going to use another kettlebell. If you haven't noticed, we're using Easter colors today. So I've got the kettlebell. What I need to do is make sure my kettlebell swing is clearing the object. So we start with the swing, and this is a hip hinge. If I were to go into a squat, I would hit the kettlebell. Good way to practice and ensure that you're using the hip hinge form. That's the kettlebell swing. Definitely incorporate these. You can even play a little game where you do 100 every day. Anytime you walk by a kettlebell, you gotta do 10 swings. Do it 10 times, you're knocking out 100. Super powerful hips. Until next time, cheers and rubber side down. Well, that's a wrap for this segment. Hopefully you found the video extremely enjoyable. As always, we appreciate it if you give us a big thumbs up, share it in the wonderful world of social media, and please leave a comment so we know what you, the viewer, want to hear, what you like, what you dislike. For more and everything about No Limits Hammer Harder, simply go to www.nolimitshammerharder.com. As always, cheers and rubber side down.